I told you my secrets. You know my paper, you know my printer. I guess the competition's on, ladies and gentlemen. And I would like to publicly announce that I have zero plan for this whatsoever. I really hope I'm in focus. I have no idea. The system is broken. All right, if you're watching this and I'm out of focus, I'm so sorry. Literally, I filmed an episode or whatever you want to call it earlier this week, and I was like, all right, I'm done. And then I listened to it back and I was like, what? Was I on crack or something? Like, I was just talking really fast. So I need to be sure to talk slower. My heart and soul wasn't in it. I wasn't like in love. I was like, anyways, I think I'm in the sweet spot right now. I started ordering like venti iced coffee and I was drinking it in the mornings and I was like, why do I feel wired? Like I would drink like this much, which is not a lot, like not even half the cup of the venti, and be like wired so much to the point where I had to like lay down because my brain was like, my mom I think is concerned when I tell her. But then I realized it was because I was getting 5 shots of espresso added in. Anyways, I think I'm in that sweet spot where I'm a little bit excited, a little hyper, but I'm not super like bouncing off the walls. We'll see. Deep breaths. Hi, welcome to this. I don't know what this is. I don't know what to call it yet. I like the title, Let's Talk About Blank. So let's talk about making prints. I have been getting asked this question so much, just, and you have to, from my perspective, you get to ask the same question when I've answered it before, and I know you didn't see it, and that's okay. We're jumping into it if you can't tell. But I think there are 2 groups of people that ask that question. I have people, and they ask out of curiosity, right? They just want to know simply, am I making them myself or am I getting them printed somewhere else? And that's normally when I answer that question, the conversation stops there. My friend that's also an artist will say, Lila, how do you make your prints? And I go, I make them myself. And they go, oh my gosh, thank you. And that's it. And I think this goes along the same lines of someone asking you, like, what type of paint do you use? And it's like, I don't know if that really matters. And I think the people that tend to ask that are younger or newer to starting out doing this stuff. So when they ask, it's, how do you make your prints? And I go, I print them myself. And then it's, what type of printer do you use? How do you photograph your work? How do you edit your work? What type of paper do you use? So I'm here today to answer those questions if you're one of those people. But first I have to give you a little speech, okay? We're gonna go on a little journey before we get to the destination. Because what's the destination without the journey? Or something like that. I don't know what the actual quote is, but you know what I'm saying. Cliche stuff. A little bit about it, my little spiel. You want to make prints. You want to make your art. You say, oh, I made this painting. I like this painting. Other people also like this painting. And they want it, but not the actual painting, but they want it. Print, postcard, whatever. There are simple steps. Back up. You have 2 options. You can either make the prints yourself or have someone else make them for you. Versions of having someone else make it for you, and there are a bunch of different versions of making the print yourself. Well, not really. But either way, there are simple steps, regardless of who is actually going to be doing some of these steps. But also no, because there are other things. So you have to convert your image to a digital printable image, and then you have to print it. Is that it? You have to, if you're not digital, you have to photograph your work, then you have to edit it into a printable image, and then you have to print it. So anywhere along those 3 main steps of taking your image, making it digital. What was the other? Taking your image, editing it, printing it. Taking it, editing, printing. That's basically the whole process. If you're working with digital, like I said, you don't have to take your photos, but you still do have to edit them if you're not already working for print. I'm not going to get into the weeds here. I'm not trying to get those little burrs on my legs. Like, no, we're not getting ticks today. But there are simple steps, and I'll kind of talk about how I do my process. Abbreviated, I digress. So there are those 3 steps. And the reason why I'm not going to tell you outright is because if you're watching this, you want to know how I make my prints, and I'm going to tell you. But I think something that's really important, something that I'm realizing more and more I've done accidentally over the years, is like absorbing information and researching. Like for years and years and years, I have been watching videos on screen printing. I've been watching videos on printmaking in general, on bookbinding, on ordering, on manufacturing, on making things for print. I've been watching small business YouTubers for years now, and I've tried different avenues of making my own products for years. So all of that knowledge has led me to my decision of making my own prints. And that's something that I really don't want younger people, if you're just starting out, like, do not miss that step, because through learning these past years and trying different things, and not just go ahead and asking someone how they do it and then replicating that process and being like, shoot, this didn't work. Why didn't it work? Theirs looks so good. Why didn't this work for me? Because it takes all that learning. Do not underestimate the tool and the skill that is having a question and figuring out the answer yourself. I think that applies in almost anything. Not to get I'm getting all preachy here. I'm getting preachy. But it's so important. If you have a question, finding different ways to answer it yourself without asking someone else and just having the answer spit back to you. Because from my experience, and I know if you Google how to make an art print, you're going to come across different articles, you're going to read one or two, maybe even more, you're going to come across YouTube videos. And so in all that process, you're already starting to learn all these different ways, and you have to tailor it for yourself. And when it comes to making art prints, you have to pick what's best for you and not just replicate what somebody else is doing. Because if you follow someone that has like 300,000 people on Instagram or TikTok or whatever, or YouTube, and they're making their prints one way, that probably is not going to be the best way for you starting out with 100 Instagram followers to make your prints. There are different factors that go into it. For me, I make my own prints myself. And now I'm going to talk a little bit about, am I? This is going by fast. I'm really talking very fast. 10 minutes? I've been talking, whoa. I'm probably going fast again, aren't I? Let's all take a deep breath. Apparently I have a lot to say about this. Every time I post a video about how did you make those? Those look so good, blah, blah, blah. It's a compliment. Thank you. They do look good. It's okay. Keep asking me questions, but I just get asked that question every single day of my life, and I know it's not going to end. I know it's not. That's why I'm making this, so I could just be like, I have a podcast. Please just go watch the podcast. That was probably just another shot of espresso I just ingested. I should drink some water, maybe but I'm doing this, so I have to stay focused. This would be a great time to talk about today's sponsor, me. I'm sponsoring my own videos from here until further notice, because I think I make cool art and you should support me. You probably already are if you're watching this, and thank you for doing that. But yes, this video is sponsored by me. Prints of this painting coming soon. Yes, I didn't introduce myself. It's fine. You know who I am, right? Kind of, maybe. Do you care? I don't. Because if you can't make yourself laugh, what are you doing? What are you even doing at this point? You're living alone for a year. Prints. We're talking about prints. That's the end of the sponsored video. And I'm just very excited about this, to be honest. Prints make me excited. I could talk about this all day, clearly. Just wasted another, I don't know how long, minutes. Let's talk about making your prints. Now, clearly I have some bigger paintings, and I'm sure there are other people out there that have even bigger paintings than this. I want to work bigger than this in the future, hopefully soon. But if you have really big paintings, it's pretty simple. I'm going to say this for almost every single step, but Google it, YouTube video it, if you really want to know the ins and outs. Again, we are not getting into the weeds. No time for dandelions. I'm allergic to them. Okay? So that was really sassy. I'm sorry. If someone just watched this video and didn't know me, they might think I'm crazy. I might be. I don't know. If you have bigger paintings, what I do, if I can't get a super high quality photo from my camera or even my phone, most of the time with my smaller paintings, I use my phone. My phone is one of the newer versions, but in a smaller size, one of those. So it takes really high quality photos, and that is what works for me. And if that's not something that you have as an option, I would suggest you could borrow someone else's camera. You could I also have a professional, it's for video, but I could take professional photos with it as well. So what I do with these larger paintings is I take photos of sections of it. I make sure that my lighting is really good. I normally just use natural lighting, and I take sections of it. So for this painting, it's not super big. I would probably take like 4 or 5, one of each corner and then one of the middle. And then I stitch them together in Photoshop and make sure that all the colors look good. This is where we get to prepping something for print. I had someone on one of my videos, I was like, we're making a postcard today, so I gotta make sure that my document is in CMYK because we're printing it. And someone was like, I'm pretty sure you can print if it's RGB too. And I'm like, you can, but should you? RGB is the way that digital images are produced, but that's just for web. If you try to print an image that you made in RGB on a normal standardized printer, it's not going to come out as vibrant as it did because your printer has normally 4 different cartridges. There's cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. Now, C, cyan, M, magenta, yellow, Y, and K stands for black. So if you're making an image for print, you have to make it in CMYK. So if you take a photo on your phone, it's going to automatically be in RGB format. So most of the editing that I do once I take my photo, even if it's a big photo, if it's a big painting or a small painting, if it's big, I've stitched it together. Once I have that final image that I'm like, okay, I'm ready to print, I make sure that I edit it into CMYK, which means adjusting levels, maybe upping the exposure, brightness, whatever, touching it up and doing like multiple test prints on my printer to make sure that the colors are going to come out the way I want. Well, we kind of have to get into the next part. They are not paying me. Somebody pay me for this, please. But I use the Epson, whatever. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. Please work with me here. The Epson Ultra Premium Presentation Paper Matte is what I use for my postcards and most of my prints. Some of my 8x10 prints, I think my RGB chair 8x10 prints are printed on like their luster photo paper, so it's kind of got like a matte sheen to it. So I really like it because it has that double-sidedness to it. And then for my posters, I also use Epson Presentation glossy paper. I think it's the 52 pound, whatever that is. 52 pound, if you want to know what that is, again, going back to my point, researching this and understanding, I went through so many different iterations of my postcard paper, different iterations of my poster paper to find a paper that I felt fit not only what I was trying to print, but also my budget, and also with my presentation matte paper, which I use for so many different things. Not only can I order it online and get it pretty quickly from like Office Depot, but I have like 3 different office stores within like a 10 to 15 mile radius for me. So if I run out, I know that I can go out and find it immediately, especially nowadays when shipping can take weeks sometimes or has in the past year. It's really nice to be able to know that I can just at any point go out and get what I need and do some work. Again, researching these things, understanding. Even if you want to make your own prints, I highly suggest just trying a bunch of different papers. It can be expensive, but you can also find other means for using paper that you don't want to use. So yeah, that's the paper I use for my postcards and my 8x10 prints, and then I have shiny gloss paper for my posters. Wow, yes. And then I have a printer. It's the HP OfficeJet Pro 7740 series. I love my printer. However, I know a lot of people were going to be like, what printer do you use? What printer? Listen to me, please. Linda, listen to me. If you know that video, shout out to you. Research these things, research. Don't just go out and buy the printer I have just because it's the printer I have. Again, full disclosure, I'll be real honest with you. I'm figuring stuff out as I go, and I'll be honest about the mistakes I make, okay? I did not research my printer fully. It was in my price range at the time, and the key thing that I wanted to be able to do was print a wider format. A lot of printers do not print bigger than 8.5, so I wanted a printer that would print my standard poster size, which is 11 by 14 or 11 by 17. So I was looking at printers that could do that. At the time, I didn't have much income, so I was dipping into my savings in hopes that it would pay itself back. And it didn't. It took months for it to pay itself back because at the time I had basically no followers on Instagram. Most of them were family and friends. So I put out this expense and then didn't see immediate return for it. Obviously, it's paid for itself now, but at the time, it really didn't. I was like, well, there goes a lot of my money right now. This printer is big. Not only is it big, it's wide, but it's also very heavy. It's very heavy. If you live in like a dorm room, if you live in like a small 1-bedroom apartment, this printer, if you want to print wider format, you're going to have a bigger printer. And I do not personally suggest I could not have been able to have this printer in any other apartment that I've ever lived in or any other room that I've ever lived in besides this one. Like, I could not have. No, it's too big. It's really heavy. There's no room. There would be no room for it anywhere else. On top of that, when you're making your own prints, you have to keep stock. Like, I have to keep like 3 or 4 different like packets of my poster and postcard paper at any given time. I have to keep my shipping supplies. I have to keep my packaging supplies like at any given moment. So making your prints yourself, there's all this space that goes into it that I've never really seen anyone talk about it, but like there's this space that your supplies take up, including your printer and your paper and whatever else. That's why sometimes someone might want to have a manufacturer make it. Now, obviously, if you're printing it yourself, the cost per print is normally pretty lower, but you have to put out that money ahead of time for all the supplies, like your printer and your paper and things like that. But if you have a manufacturer do it, they take care of all of that for you. It takes up little to no space. The only thing that would be taking up space is once you get your prints back, you have them. For me, I had some of my posters in June made by somebody else, and they came in like this poster tube, so they didn't take up much space. Way less space than my printer and paper. That's one of the pros of having a manufacturer do it, is you don't have to worry about, am I running out of ink? Am I running out of paper? All you have to do is make sure that your image, whatever your final digital image is ready to print. That's the thing that I think can be tricky, is like for me, it really helps to be able to make prints myself just to test to make sure that the colors are right, because I'm not a pro at editing photos, so it normally takes me a try or two to make sure the colors are right. One way around that would be having like a smaller printer at home to do smaller test prints. Anything else, Leila, that you have to say? I don't know. Let me think for a second. Okay, well, they're waiting. Drink another shot of espresso. It was snowing earlier and now it's sunny. So, but again, upfront costs. When you're making things yourself, there are all these big upfront costs, which $50 might seem not big to someone else, but it can be huge to someone. So it just depends on who you are. And I think the big thing is like your time, your space, your availability, and how much money you have. If you don't have much money and you don't have much space, and you don't have much time, I would definitely recommend having someone else manufacture your prints for you. The one big con that I see is like, I can print anything at any point as long as I have enough paper and ink. If I have a video that's getting a bunch of views and people are like, I want a print, I can immediately, within like 20 minutes, have a print up on my website that's available and start printing copies to fulfill orders. If you're manufacturing, there's always a lag time. Always a lag time. Even if you order one of those like 24-hour print services, there's still that lag time of 24 hours, which, I mean, it just depends on your schedule and your budget. But having the ability to print my prints myself is very valuable to me and very cool. And also, side note, I do use, and I've talked about this before, but I've started in my painting process making mock-ups. So it's really nice to have a high-quality photo printer, not photo print, but high-quality printer, be able to do that. But I could do that if I had smaller, but it's nice to be able to print wider format prints. And I'm thinking about upgrading my printer. I will keep you posted, all you nosy little Nancy's. I'll keep you posted if I get another printer, and I'll let you know. But my printer right now is not an actual like photo printer, so it would be nice to have one that's actually meant to do what I'm making it do. But my printer, I cannot speak highly enough of, except that she's a little chunky, she's a little thick, she's beautiful the way she is, but she is really big and very heavy. Like, it's hard for me to pick up my printer by myself. When I saw the box in the mailroom, I was like, for me? That's for me? Had to like drag it up the steps. There it is. Everything's been laid out for you. Go forth and prosper. Please, please, please If you're interested in making prints yourself, Google it, watch YouTube videos, take the time to understand what you're doing, understand paperweight, understand printing in CMYK, editing photos. These are all the skills that you need that will help you in the future. And I sounded like a motivational speaker there, really. I mean, if I motivate you, like, that's cool. But yeah, I'm just a person. I'm learning as I go, and we can all learn as we go together. I don't have all the answers, and I'm sure my opinions on these things will change. Because people change. People change as we grow and have new experiences. No mistakes, only happy accidents. And that's it for this episode. Next time, I don't know what we're going to talk about next time. What should we talk about next time? Let me know. If you're here already, thank you for supporting me on Patreon. Thank you to everybody that supports me on Patreon. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I cannot thank you enough. I hope I thank you enough that it gets annoying, that you're like, stop thanking me, because I cannot express how much it means to me and how much freedom you guys have given me by supporting me. And it just warms my heart that people want to support my art, because for so long that was not always the case. Yeah, be sure to subscribe to my YouTube, smash that like button if you're watching this on YouTube, and you can get episodes a week early on Patreon and also help support your local internet artist. Follow me on Instagram, follow me on TikTok. I don't know how to end these. Bye. Ask me questions. I hope I answered all the questions. Now I have to go edit this, and that's fine. First, I need to get a snack, though, because I have had way too much coffee this morning. Okay, bye. Bye. That was 30 minutes. What it's like to make art on DMT. Vice is really out here doing the Lord's work, really just doing the research. Okay. Prince. My battery's gonna die. Okay, bye. Prince.